Welcome to another St. by Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the St. by Night Twitch channel where we play St. Petersburg by Night, a massive multiplayer 5th edition World of Darkness Chronicle set in the city of St. Petersburg, Florida. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent. I am the lead storyteller of St. Pete by Night, and I'm the storyteller of one of the greatest, in my mind, chronicles of all time, Rage Across Tampa, which is what you are here to see this very evening. It is our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicle set in Tampa, Florida, which is just across the bay from St. Petersburg. You may or may not have heard of it, but you've probably heard of it. Anyway, you should go follow St. Pete by Night on all of the social media listed down below. And if you're interested in the World of Darkness, or Werewolf the Apocalypse, or Vampire the Masquerade, or Hunter the Reckoning, or any of the amazing products that have taken place over the past 33 years, you should come join our server and come learn about this amazing World of Darkness and possibly get your hands a little dirty as you can participate in one of many one-shots that we offer on a regular basis, or find yourself seated at a table and participating in a chronicle of your very own. This is our first live stream back after Gen Con, and I gotta tell you, I'm exhausted, but I'm going to find the energy because this game rejuvenates me, and that's due in part to the amazing players that make this game possible. So, players, say hello and introduce yourselves, if you please.
Hey everybody, I'm Preston. I play Aiden Goodspeed, the Arun of the Gale Stalkers.
Hi everybody, I'm Champ, Champagne, a combination of Fergie and Jesus, whatever you want to call me, and I will be playing Aspen Weiss, Philodox of the Silver Fangs.
Hi everybody, I'm Nori, and I will be playing Malicious Jester, the Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hey everybody, I'm Walks, and I will be playing Lucas Shaw, a Ragabash of the Shadow Lords.
You know, Champ, that was pretty good. That was pretty creative. So I'm gonna give that one like a solid A, just a solid A, because it's your lovely heavenly humps in that particular case. So wonderfully well done. Last week, our pack found themselves dealing with a lot of possibilities, a lot of options lay before them. They're still trying to gather information. They're still trying to figure out what direction they're going to take the fight to the kindred of Tampa. And they're also dealing with a little bit of their own baggage as Lucas found himself down in Piney Point, and we got to learn the actual identity of the companion he's been carrying with him, a spirit by the name of Hashagut, who found themselves feasting on the corpses of Bane's Black Spiral dancers and even some Garou from the past. But now we find ourselves in the present, and the pack is coming together once more to discuss everything that they've learned over these past several weeks, as well as deciding which direction they are headed in. So it's time to choose your own adventure. Tonight's story begins at the Sept Cairn in the Memorial Park, where the pack has gathered, at least a good majority of the pack, or the Sept as it were, and we find ourselves in the grand hall that has been created, assembled, repurposed from some utility buildings within the Memorial Gardens. All of the space has been cleared out, furniture has been brought in, allowing everyone to find a seat around a long folding table that has been erected for the purposes of such meetings. Tonight we find Aspen at the head of said folding table, with the members of the pack lining each end of the table, or each side of the table. Artie sits very, very close to Aspen at her left side, while Aiden sits at the right, and Jester and Lucas sit one seat beyond. Charles lingers nearby, not sitting at the table himself, but standing instead a little bit behind Aspen and off to the side, his hands folded in front of him as he observes the proceedings. And now the scene is yours.
Well, it's been a very interesting week, 2 weeks. How is everyone?
Sore, but good.
Relaxed.
Fine.
Oh, constantly dealing with an existential crisis, but I think near the end of it at the time being. Artie pipes up.
Well, good. I'm glad people are back to normal, or as back to normal as we can be with everything going on. But to business, which we all love so much, we have a couple of things that we need to bring to the table today. One of them being a conversation that Aiden and I had with Spud recently. Aiden, would you like to expound on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So we went and met with the magician Spud guy, but he let us know about a place where the leeches are like taking blood, and he had brought up that this is a place where if we wanted to hurt them or try to make things harder for them, we take this place out. Upon like a quick little search, the front could be a way in, but in the back there is a large bay door, and another door next to it. Artie, there's one of those boxes next to it. It's got the keypad right on it. There's a camera above the door. Camera watching the two cameras watching the bay door. It seems like that's where a lot of the people that work there park, but it seems to close pretty early. I think you probably could do your thing to get so people can't see us, and then nothing extraordinary that I saw from it.
Artie reaches down into a satchel next to his chair and produces a laptop and pops it open. And let me see if I can do anything remotely first, and we'll go from there. And he starts typing rapidly as the computer boots up.
They have these big units on them to cool everything down for where they store. Where we're assuming all the actual blood itself is stored. So that's the area we need to get to. It looks pretty well. The walls look strong. but shouldn't be too difficult for us to actually get in there, grab it, and get out.
I could always just shut down power to the building, let the
Yeah.
resources spoil, but that would probably have to be over a couple of days. Those refrigerators, usually for medical supplies, have a backup generator or power that'll last a good while, but if I get a good 48 to 72 hours, I could probably shut that down over a weekend if they're not actively open.
Well, I was thinking the same thing. It's just if something were to happen, they would then probably move it to somewhere else, which would get
Good
it
point.
out from the building, which would be great. But then we're out in the open,
Well,
having to do
also
something which
if it's owned by the leeches, it's very likely that they'd probably be the ones to move it to somewhere of their choosing.
I have a thought. Why do we have to destroy it?
Destroy it. Go ahead.
Why don't we poison it? I mean, they're going to take it and drink it. If it's to some degree toxic to them, spreads out throughout them, maybe
I
even
don't
gets after the bigger ones.
I don't know if we can guarantee that blood only goes to leeches though, and if someone else were to get that blood, we'd be hurting people that don't deserve it.
Well, I
E-
wouldn't use anything lethal, just adventurous.
Even if
Why
they are
don't we?
using it as a front, though, they probably have to have a certain degree of legitimacy to be able to go with under the radar as well as they do. So there is a risk there that it does get into the wrong hands, and by the wrong hands, I mean somebody innocent.
Why don't we steal it and give it to actual people in need?
Well, we do, as to get this information from Spud, we needed to make a deal with him, so we need to bring some of it to him as well.
It's fair trade.
There is a slight kind of low growl that emanates from Charles from behind you as you mention the trade with a vampire being part of the deal, but he stifles it very quickly.
I give him a bit of a side eye, like a stern side eye, and go back to the conversation at hand. A small exchange for the information we need. Poisoning isn't a bad idea. I like your train of thought, but also how do we know that that will affect them the same way as it would affect, say, a normal human, right?
It would take an experiment or two, and if we don't have time for that, that's understandable.
The other thing is we'd have to probably do this at night, which means the leeches are probably going to be present. Can't do it during the day because people will be about.
Do we know if it's only blood they store there?
I couldn't get inside, so I can't tell you.
We just
So,
did an initial scouting, so we never went inside the building.
so if there are people there, like there was at the energy plant, what are we going to do?
Should be less people than the energy plant. Not saying that that's better, but it'd be easier to get fewer people out.
Artie keeps typing away and turns the computer showing basically a Google Earth view over top of the facility and states, based off of the size of the building and the location of the building, even if they were keeping people there, it would have to be on a very temporary basis. This place doesn't have the resources to do what the energy plant did. They were right on the grid. They could have hooked up a variety of machines at the energy plant, but they don't have the means here to do life sustaining technology or anything of that sort. It would be, I mean, it's not impossible, but it'd be minimal casualties if it were to go that way. They just couldn't. They couldn't keep the resources here to do it.
Okay.
It's more likely a drive-through situation. They take the clients in, they take them from what they need, take from them what they need, and then they send them on their way.
But regardless, taking out that facility in a semi-permanent way, so it can't easily be resustained, is what we're looking at to whittle down the food sources for the leeches, which to that point, while talking to Spud, he did use the word kindred and the word licks when speaking about vampires. So that's a word to look out for. Also, when referring to humans, he used the word kine.
So let me get this straight. They used the word kindred?
Yes.
Artie types a little bit more into a search engine, then turns the computer around and shows that there are a number of hospitals in the St. Pete and Tampa area called Kindred Hospital.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So either they're very dumb or this is just bad luck.
Could you check one more thing, Artie? Could you check to see if they are possibly have a connection, these hospitals, to Tampa property management?
Sure. Types a little bit more.
See if they're owned by the same LLC. Smart.
After a few moments, he just shakes his head. No, different group entirely. It's a entire hospital management system. They have a variety of branches, not just in Florida, but all throughout the country. It's not ruling out the possibility of leeches, but it doesn't seem to be a local operation.
Can you see where the blood from this place is being sent to? Is there a way to see that?
That's going to take me a second, but
Okay.
I'll see if I can find some orders or shipping manifests or anything like that.
And my idea is if we can see something that's reoccurring like more often, that could be a possible leech that's just getting blood from this place.
He continues typing for several moments, the sound of the keys clacking under each of his finger falls, which move at a rapid rate to the point that it becomes almost like a soundtrack in the background, like a low buzz of white noise. But after several moments, he stops. Well, they have a variety of clients that they work with, several of the convalescence homes nearby, a few of the hospitals. But there is one shipping manifesto that goes to, or manifest that goes to, you guessed it, Tampa Property Management.
A little bit bigger of a fish than we can fry right now, though.
If it has a manifest, does it have like specified like identifications on the blood that is sent there? Because we could just steal that.
Unfortunately, no, it doesn't get into detail. And in fact, it's not even addressed to Tampa Property Management. I just cross referenced the address with a list of known addresses, and it happens to match.
Okay.
It's definitely something to hold on to for the future, and keep our eye on, because if we can see where all of these are going, we have smaller places that we could pick off before we do something that drastic, right?
Should be.
Also, we had talked previously about how Spud seemed different. When talking to him, he had mentioned that the way he explained it was he wasn't quite ripened because he's younger.
I guess that makes sense. The younger ones are easier to deal with.
Was thinking that might be something to ask Eliza about. I know her knowledge is also limited, but she knows far more than we do, and it might be something to bring up to her.
Oh, Lucas, that incident that happened on the roof with that one leech, apparently that was a rare thing that we didn't stumble on anything really, just apparently just happened. So we don't need to go find weird garden stakes, apparently, but that dude was just weak.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, I was a little upset about it.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, okay.
From what I know, I mean, and it's very little but from what I've gathered, it's not a gradual transformation. It's immediate. They make the change and they are night bound. They are, bloodthirsty. I don't understand this whole ripening thing. That doesn't sound normal.
It caught me as odd too, and the younger and the wording he was using seemed off. So I thought it might be something to look into. Also, if Eliza knows anything about the leech's hierarchy, because apparently Bloody Mary is a sheriff of theirs. She is like their exactly what it sounds, a sheriff for the police. She is their muscle and their kind of strong arm for their system.
So what we do is we challenge her to a duel at high noon in the town square, right? That's how we handle this. Get some
Are you
spurs.
serious?
Aiden, you look
Oh.
great in a hat, like one of those 10-gallon hats. I think it'd look amazing on you. Get some chaps.
I think in this scenario, we're not the Earps. We're the Clantons.
Phew, that went over my head, but fair. Fair. I'm gonna say that's probably right.
Regardless, I don't think that's exactly what they mean. But she does have some sort of authority. How much, who handles her, I am not sure, but she does have some sort of authority within their hierarchy.
The cult mentioned she has a leash, or someone's holding her leash.
So she answers to somebody.
That's why they're not worried about her attacking immediately.
And they did mention a king. I'm not sure if they were speaking of Bateman or not, but they mentioned a king and taking out his food source. And that's when they started to talk about the Tampa Bay lost survivors.
It's
Yeah,
like it's like a support group.
you'd mentioned that, and I did a little bit of digging into it. It is family, friends, relatives of those who took their own lives. It's a support group for those in the fallout of incidents such as that. It's very specific, and if there is any leech connection there, that definitely caused some bristles up my spine because that's a vulnerability that should not be exploited.
Yeah, that's not okay. If there's something we could do about that, we need to do something about that.
I agree. Seems also like a strange group to target.
Do we know where where this group is at?
Sure, we could find it easily with a simple Google search.
Yeah, I've got their meeting details here. They're supposed to be meeting next week for a bi-weekly event that they do. They have weekly meetings as well with grief counselors and whatnot, but they have a big bi-weekly gathering, and it looks like the next one is next week. It's at a community center near the campus of the college, UCF.
Does the meeting take place during the day or at night?
It looks like it is since during the week. It starts around 6:30, ends anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock at night.
Anybody up for going? Not me, of course. My face is too public.
And get you a mask.
I
Well,
don't think this.
I know the community center pretty well. I could go.
I was thinking maybe Artie and Aiden could go. Just kind of take a look as if they're trying to be a part of that community. see if anything strange happens.
All right. What's okay? I was trying to be smart. What's the community?
It's like it's a gathering of people, kind of like how you would have moots, kind of like moots, but
Okay.
it's just for regular normal folk from all kinds of walks of life. Usually those local to a specific area with some sort of quality that binds them, whether it's a past occurrence or a common hobby or activity. Like, yeah, it's just like a meeting, kind of like these.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm okay with checking that out.
Okay.
Yeah, like a meeting for people who are supporting each other with similar issues.
I'm so good at that.
You don't have to say much. You could just pretend like you're very sad.
I'll look to Artie, coach him.
Yeah, I might just have you wait outside and just keep an eye on things. This is like walking into a minefield of emotions, human emotions. Not sure if that's necessarily your strong suit.
Aiden,
No.
don't be offended by this, but Artie, you should bring him in as an emotional support animal.
Aiden will slightly look over towards Charles and then restrain himself.
I don't think Aiden has that blending effect that Artie has. If anything, it would have to be the other way around.
And I think that's a completely different support group for, circus workers and carnies, to bring a wolf in as an emotional support animal. Aiden, roll me a wits and awareness, or a wits and insight.
Okay. Jeez. 1.
One success. Okay. Looking over towards Charles, you see just the slightest movement of his eyes towards you at that statement, and the corner of his lip just very, very minute kind of perk up just a little bit. Okay, so emotional support it is. I can look into that.
I mean, unless you prefer to go Lucas, you just didn't strike me as somebody who would want to be around all of those emotions.
Oh, no, that is striking you exactly where it needs to strike you. And it's not so much that I don't want to be around the emotions. I just don't think I can control myself if somebody starts talking.
That's also very fair. I like your self-awareness. Okay, so Artie will look into that. Artie can kind of get an inside look. Aiden can take a look at anything else he could find around the area, around the campus. That'll be great. I think that'll give us more information on what we're looking into when it comes to what the cult wants from us.
Great. What else? Artie clearly and uncomfortably changes the subject.
She gives him like a comforting glance. Well, we also have the cult who spoke of Piney Point. That is an option to look into as well.
Yeah, I did a little bit more research into that as well. It used to be a manufacturing plant of like fertilizer, but it was closed after some scandals kind of were made public about dumping and pollution and extra activities that they were participating in. Place has been closed for a while now and abandoned, so I'm not sure if there's anything there worth looking into. I checked some surveillance around the area to see if there was any comings and goings, but it looks like that place is shut up pretty tight. I mean, they have maybe a property manager or something go by every now and then, but for the most part, the place is all but abandoned.
It's not
What?
shut up that tight.
Is there something you'd like to bring up, Lucas?
Piney Point's mostly a dead end. Sorry, you guys were off doing your own things and I was bored. So I just lightly went to go check it out. Just a little surveillance and observation. Still abandoned, but I don't think it's going to be abandoned for much longer. Looks like there's a new crew or previous owner attempting to bring it back online. And the scandal's not necessarily the scandal you may think it is. Like I said, surveillance was trying to be as non-contact as possible. So I took the aura shades with me just so I could get a little peeksy-poo around the whole premises. The umber right around that area is real concerning. You would probably assume it would be concerning considering it's a manufacturing plant, but something happened there. There's bodies all over the umber. Dead Banes, dead spirals, dead Garou. I didn't mess with any of them, but I think if we're going to do the right thing, we probably just can't let them stay there. We got to get them out at some point. I would have done it, but discretion is the better part of valor in that case. And the person that I saw wandering around, a blonde carrying a clipboard. I didn't really see what was on the clipboard entirely, but I did see the two letters E and X at the end of the paper. And I'm sure we can all play Wordle on that one. So,
I came to Tampa partially because Indron was getting sued for Piney Point, and we came to protest. Same Indron that we connected to Magadon and the people testing Aiden's wolves, Aiden's family. So there might be a connection there.
Okay. Do some more research on that, figure out where the connections are and what's really going on there. I do agree with you, Lucas, that we should go in there and clear it out, which means we would have to talk to Eliza about that as well. She has a way of cleaning up those messes that none of us are too good at. So having a conversation with her about that would be a good idea as well. But it does bring me to a point, thank you, Lucas, that from now on, because it seems that people have some issues letting me know what they're doing before they do it, you don't necessarily have to come to me, but bring one of your pack mates with you if it could be potentially dangerous. You can bring it back to the pack as a whole at the meetings, but somebody should be going with you. Somebody should know.
fair.
I think especially with the situation that we're in now with Colt at our back, a ceasefire, I guess you could say, for now, dealing with leeches and trying to go on the offense with Bloody Mary. I think we're all in a very dangerous situation. Almost everything could be dangerous, but if it's an obvious danger and an obvious issue, tell somebody, bring somebody with you. That way you have backup, because I think it's just illogical to go on your own with no knowledge of where you are. It could potentially put all of our pack weaker, and I think that none of us want that as we're moving into these new ideas.
Artie makes a slightly uncomfortable.
Yes, Artie?
I respectfully disagree. I agree that telling somebody is important. There has to be a chain of communication. At least somebody knows if you don't return that, you know, where you were last or what your intentions were going into a situation. But Lucas has certain talents that make him an asset when he's on his own. And I do think that adding another level of accountability to him having to watch the back of a pack mate in a potentially difficult situation could be problematic. And I think that he would be better watching his own back, saving his own skin, and being able to get out if he needed to without having to worry about someone else falling behind. And the only reason I say this is because our resources are really, really spread thin. There's only so many of us. If we had a sept, if we had 12, 20, 30 Garou to work with, maybe. If we had a group of Ghislaine that we could send out, maybe. But because there's only, I guess, 7 of us currently, I'm not sure we can afford to always be sending 2, 3, 4 Garou out, especially if we know that this sept has a history, we know that this cairn has a history, and part of that history was that this cairn wasn't properly defended, and that's why it fell. So that's my only apprehension. Of course, your word is law in my mind, but I have seen and watched Lucas, and I know that he is capable. And as long as he communicated his intentions and Artie looks to Lucas kind of in a like, I got your back here, man, but give me something, I think that he is best served doing his own thing and that he could be an asset in that regard.
Well, I agree with you because Aiden, she looks over to Aiden, is wonderful and has skills on his own. And when he's on his own, he does much better as well. Right? And I completely agree with that. And I think that is an asset to us all. But it seems that communication is lacking within our pack. And it doesn't, yes, we are spread thin, but when we do not communicate with one another, one of us is going to get killed and no one else will know. And that is something that we cannot afford. So if the pack does want to move singularly, then communication needs to be better. We all have phones, as much as some of us don't like it, and some of us see it as uh, a problem. We live in this age and we will be using them. Am I understood on that front?
Actually, if we can shore up some resources, I can get drop tags that can be tracked with GPS and could at least give us an idea of someone's status or at least location. Uh, if someone's going to go on a away mission, to use Star Trek, uh, I could drop one of these tags with them so that they could at least be monitored or tracked to a certain degree. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing.
But
It's actually, go ahead.
Aspen, you're the Philodox here, so I will defer, as Artie said, to your decision. But let's put it like this. Let's say if one of us figures something out or has a lead, we will put it out to the pack. Let the pack make a decision on whether that person leaves by themselves or leaves with somebody else based on that person's requests and input and the overall danger of the scenario.
I think that's an excellent option. I do. But, and I will agree with that, and I will be amenable to that with your guys' suggestions. But with all due respect to every single one in this room, I am tired of running after you like you are my children. So if we can avoid that in the future, then I am completely okay with rectifying this going forward. I'm not angry. I just know that it has been a constant issue with lack of communication to your alpha and to your pack as a whole. So if we could fix that moving forward and make sure that we are all communicating properly, I won't treat you like children. I will let you do what you do best because we are all adults and we all bring something to the table. But I will not be your mother. I am your alpha. So that needs to be rectified.
Makes sense.
All I'm hearing, or what I'm hearing, and I was one of the first to do this, so I think I've learned my lessons, is just text Aspen if you plan on doing something.
Artie
Again,
fishes a cell phone out of his pocket and starts typing a memo. Don't call Aspen mommy. Got it.
I think you can.
well, anyways, as long as we could rectify that, I do like your suggestion, Artie, of having tags out there. So if somebody is going on their own, we all have an idea. I have my own ways of checking on you guys, but that only gets me so far. So if we could all agree that if we are going to go into a dangerous situation on our own, we have something that the rest of the pack can look into. So we all know if you're in danger, we can show up. Then I'm okay with that. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
I think it's time I got chipped anyways.
That was so good, Aiden. I'm so proud of you for that.
Thank you.
God. On that note, yes, I will agree based on exactly what he just said.
Sort of kind of aligned with that. When I did go with Ryder, I had the opportunity to help him, but I couldn't. You guys have seen it. I can sing and inspire you with the rage of Gaia sometimes, but
Every time.
it wasn't for him because he wasn't officially part of the pack. So I'll glance at Charles. Maybe we should have Eliza and Charles join the pack in case that situation comes up again.
I actually think that's an excellent idea considering where we're at right now and moving forward in the future. I think if they wanted to pursue other options, that would be fine. But if they can't gain the benefits of the pack without being a part of the pack, then I think that might be in everyone's best interest. Looks over to Charles.
Charles's brow is a little bit furrowed as his eyes become a little bit sharper and almost. Well, I'll let everyone roll a wits and insight on this one because he is a very stoic individual and it kind of can be hard to read what he's exactly thinking.
1.
Two successes from Aspen, 3 from Jester, 2 from Lucas. So, Jester, you're the only one to pick up that there is a hint of judgment in his face. He definitely seems unsure about the prospect at the moment, as if that would be a worthwhile course of action for him. But everyone else, he just seems to be in thought about the matter.
Well, we're gonna have to shave him first, right? That's need a package of Lady Bix and like 4 cans of shaving cream, right, Aid?
I don't understand that reference.
We'll get there, man. We'll get there.
Well, Charles, thoughts?
You seem like you don't want to do it.
Before Mr. Morningstar assigned me to this task, I had a pack of my own out west. He gave me a task, and I'm not one to ignore orders. If this is what the Alpha requests or requires, I'm here to serve.
I will not force your hand, Charles.
As long as my loyalties are understood, I am happy to oblige.
Wonderful. And you're welcome to rehash that with me at any time if you feel you are being underappreciated.
He like smirks a little bit at that, exhaling out of his nose slightly, but then nods.
Just out of curiosity, where do your loyalties lie?
To the nation and to my family. But of course, to Gaia also. And from what I've seen, so do yours. And for that, we are aligned.
Good. So Charles is on board. The rest of the pack have any nays?
Abstain.
I'm good to go. We have a understanding.
Yeah.
She'll narrow her eyes at Aiden for a moment and then turn to Artie.
Chuckles is all right by me. And Artie flashes a big grin towards Charles, and Charles just gives another deadpan, furrowed brow in his direction.
Well, good then. I think that's a really good idea. Thank you, Jester. And we have a few things we need to talk to Eliza about. Would you mind taking point on that? About
Yeah.
the kindred and this possible joining of the pack and things of that nature.
Yeah, I will.
Can we
Perfect.
not call
Thank
them
you.
that? Like,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that that's what they call each other, and we need to be aware of that, but that is so much more respect on them than they deserve. Like, you said lick, and I was like, you know what, I'm surprised I hadn't thought of that, but I would, oh god, ugh, there's something just so holier than thou about that term that I just ugh.
In what way?
It just leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Just kindred.
It feels like it's something that would come out of like old Europe. Like, oh, we are the kindred. Ooh.
It sounds like an organization where they have to paddle you for you to get in. No, absolutely not.
If you all feel that strongly about it, sure.
God,
Leeches,
it's
leeches it is,
awful.
or licks, I guess. Licks is fine. Seems like a
More like ticks. They just latch on and like, ugh, God.
Hey, ticks are no joke, man.
Yeah, neither are they, but I'm not going to call them anything respectful or righteous. Like, I think of kindred as like kindred spirits, something positive, not fucking
I'm gonna
bloodthirsty
suck your
monsters.
blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Gross.
Fair enough. So kindred is forbidden. Got it.
I'll keep my ear out, but I'm never calling them that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, leeches, we stick to leeches it is. Vampires seem so strange too, but leeches works. But anyways, back to business. Talking to Eliza about the leeches and about her possible joining of the pack would be good things to discuss with her. Artie and Aiden, if you guys would go to the support group.
Could do that.
Okay. Okay. Um, And I think I personally, as far as the three options that we have, the one that we need to focus on the most would be the one given by Spud, the one that we have the most information on.
I agree.
I agree.
I feel like it's the one we can move on the fastest.
I think it's going to hurt the leeches the most.
I agree. I agree with all of you, and I'd much rather deal with one unripened leech than the colt at this point.
Aiden will
Speak,
turn. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
speaking of the Colts, when I was there talking to them, they inferred that we were holding one of theirs, which I know we aren't, because one, we don't really have the means of that. We're really a place to hold them. Anyways, so it may seem like either one was taken or missing, or they might have just been lying to me straight up.
Do they mean Terrence?
But Terrence wasn't theirs.
No, but
They were scouting
Kyle.
him.
These cult people don't really seem like one to say this one's ours because of that. It's this is mine, and that's final.
Could be. Could be.
Well, they can't have Terrence, so joke's on them.
Would make sense if they had their eyes on him and were considering him a potential and were laying the groundwork to try and bring him in. They probably thought him as claimed. I mean, obviously he's not, but this is a much more barbaric worldview from what I can tell. A lot more. You're ours if we say you're ours, until proven otherwise.
Yeah, probably a good idea that Terrence is not here.
He's doing really well, though. I talk to him pretty often. He's talking to spirits a lot, and they're talking back. And he's learning more advanced stuff, so he's doing really well.
Good.
Speaking of the cults, Eliza knew them, and I don't feel like we're talking enough about that. Clearly, they were of the old cairn. Clearly, there's a connection there and
Oh.
long-standing bitterness towards Ryder and Eliza. What do we think that's all about?
They were part of another pack that was here. They left before the rest of the sept fell. They are bitter. They feel like, one, the nation betrayed them. They felt that Ryder betrayed them. From what I understand, they feel that Ryder betrayed them because a person he cared for, who was part of their pack, I think their pack leader, died, but they blame it on Ryder because Ryder held back on taking action, and it caused the sept to fall in their eyes.
So were they back to get even with Ryder? I mean, they're a little late for that. What?
No, I think they're back to take Tampa back.
But you said they're the ones that chose to leave.
They chose to, according to Plato, or Brandon, if I remember the pictures correctly, that was his old name. He chose to leave because he wasn't willing to sacrifice himself for a mission that they did or were going to do. I was going to talk to Eliza more about it.
So wait,
Technically,
his name was Brandon, but now he's Plato. Is this like one of those Prince situations? Are we gonna have to call him like the Garou, formerly known as Plato, formerly known as Brandon, or just a symbol at some point? Because that's gonna be really hard to keep track of.
You
It's a
may
line
not
of-
want to do that.
He seems like an asshole. I'm perfectly happy to do that.
They're also really quick to violence.
Oh, well, that I
I
must
got
get
you.
at. Yeah.
But I
Oh.
mean, overall, they chose to leave. This sounds like this is a them problem, not an us problem.
Yeah, but
Get
they're here
therapy.
now.
Work it out.
I don't have the full story. I can get the full story from Eliza and Ryder, but that will take a little time.
That would be smart because Grandmother Willow said something while Lucas and I were there. She said, "What once was asleep woke again, and a righteous fury and revenge on everything." So I think context when it comes to all of that would be ideal.
They definitely want to get rid of the leeches. Beyond that, I think there's something else, but they're not willing to talk about it to me. I don't think we're going to be aligned in the net goal after that, though.
What about that the other one? Not the symbol, but the other one.
Ethan.
There was I got like a real American Psycho vibe off of him. Like it was very, when you encounter certain Garou, you can kind of get a hint off of their personality. Like I had Lucas pegged for a Shadow Lord before he even said a word, but that one gave me like not cult vibes. He gave me like I'm gonna murder you in your sleep vibes.
Yeah, I got those vibes. He's one who definitely thinks that Aruns should be leaders in wartime. So he might be Arun. Because even Plato seemed to defer to him more than he to Plato.
How many of them are there?
From what I saw, those two, which were the oldest, they were the elders, and 6 others, at least.
Any
That's
of them
eight.
have?
That's 8, Aiden. 6 plus 2 is 8.
Thank you. I can do that. It's when I get past these, I get lost.
Okay. You should
No.
start using your toes too. We'll
Yeah,
get
just take your shoes
we'll
off,
get your
man.
toes.
You don't want that.
It's fair.
Did any of them have yellow eyes, or did you just happen to see that, or a book?
Did any of them have yellow eyes, Kent?
Not that you saw. Not that was obviously apparent.
Not that I could see.
Okay, there was a book that was there when Artie and I were looking through that window. There was a book. It was almost looked like leather, but it had a symbol on the front of it.
I'm sorry. Plato had a journal, but the journal wasn't the book that he's describing, right?
No.
But it's not the book you were describing.
Okay.
I know there's
So-
a gift our people can use that allows them to see in the dark that causes a glowing yellow eyes. Maybe it was just a gift one of them had activated at the time.
Yeah, but he was in the room where it wasn't dark.
Well, it's off-putting to see if you're not prepared for it. So maybe it was
yeah.
like a intimidation or recruitment tactic. Because that was back when they had the new kids, right? There was
Yeah, the 3 of them in there.
yeah, maybe it was something to do with that.
Okay.
You're like, look at us, we're powerful and have magic. I don't know. I've never recruited for anything.
They were very willing to show off how excited, maybe even, or gung-ho they were about killing humans, especially if humans were serving leeches in their mind.
That's dangerous philosophy because one could say by being fed upon they're serving, and if this is anything like the old classic tales, they think leeches think they're the aristocracy and everything else below them is cattle.
They don't have reason to think otherwise, so why not think that?
Well,
They
they have
have-
us now.
They have an interesting philosophy. One of them thinks that humans are the monsters, and the human within each Garou is a monster, something along those lines. Which, Lucas, you made an excellent point while we were there. I just didn't want you to anger them. I know they have a short fuse.
Yeah. That was Ethan.
Wait,
Ethan
Lucas
seems-
getting under someone's skin? No. How? He's so affable and totally all about teamwork and doing the right thing.
Here's a Shadow Lord 101 lesson for the Silver Fang. Yeah, we were there. Yeah, I spoke out of line. Completely did that on purpose so that you could assert your authority over me and look like you were absolutely in charge. That was a play.
It's actually pretty good, not gonna lie.
Well,
They
I
both-
appreciate that, I guess. Sorry, Jester, continue.
No, they both seem to want to burn Tampa down. I don't know what they want to create from the ashes because they're not willing to say that, but that seemed their intent.
I get the theory, but I think there's too much collateral damage in that. Like, burning
know.
is so much worse than repairing, fixing, growing.
Yeah.
That sounds like worm talk to me.
It seemed really close, honestly. And I'm not sure if they care. If they're like Ryder was, but worse, where they willingly fell to this, they probably can't see beyond it.
Especially if their grudge goes beyond just Ryder or goes beyond Eliza. It's probably everything and everyone.
That's exactly what grandmother will have said.
Yeah,
Revenge
before,
on everything.
before it gets brought up, I'm not going back to the Umbra to go get one of those tiers again. Especially for these guys. No.
I don't blame you.
Okay. So Aiden and I will do the thing you said. And we're hitting the plasma bank, so I'll put effort into that. Is there any pre-planning we want to do so we're not winging this Ryder style at the last minute and, having any ulterior motives amongst us on how to handle the situation?
Right, exactly. So, what I was getting to before we started talking about the cult, I think we should go with the Spud plan. I think that's the easiest, the most tangible that we have right now. So, in what ways do we want to go about doing this? Okay, we know we have to bring some back to Spud. We know that it has to be permanent as much as it can be, so it's not just easily propped back up with a little bit of, elbow grease. How do we want to make this happen?
Well, there's the back doors. That's gonna be one of our easier ways. If we really wanted to, we could go Die Hard style and take the AC units off the top and just rip them off and go through the air ducts and then drop right in.
It's not a terrible idea.
Kent.
Yeah.
I would like to roll my ancestors.
Okay.
What would Ryder do in this situation?
Interesting. Okay. Roll me let's go with composure and insight check as you try to summon up the ancestors in you. Make a rage check as well before you roll it. as you're trying to stir up something deep within inside yourself.
I will lose a point of rage.
Okay. Pulling upon all the anger, frustration, strain within you, trying to summon up the memories, the spirit, the imprint of Ryder upon you. Takes a little bit more effort, possibly because of the cairn itself, possibly this being a place that had a lot of history for Ryder, not all of it good, in fact, most of it not.
And
You
I'm going to
look-
spend a willpower.
You look inward, exhausting yourself, pushing yourself.
3 successes.
3 successes. As you try to steady your breathing, closing your eyes momentarily, calling out to Ryder, what would Ryder do? It takes a few moments for any real thoughts or impressions to visit you. But eventually, a voice inside starts out at a low rumble. Are you sure you want to know?
Just because I know doesn't mean I'm going to actually advise it.
Well, living, breathing me would say energy plant 2.0, but I know that's not exactly your taste.
Nope.
Also, the idea of working with leeches makes me want to vomit all over your brain palace.
Please don't, but same. What about old you?
Probably steal away with one of their shipments. Wait for them to be shipping out some blood, find out when the next delivery is supposed to happen. Take the delivery. Take the drivers, uniforms, whole deal. Do something a little more sneaky, I guess. Get your best people, your silvery tongues, like yourself, sweetheart. Talk your way in. Assess the inside. Mock up some delivery order. Places like this, paperwork's a fucking nightmare. If you have something that even looks legit, you could probably abscond with whatever you need to pay off that greasy hippie fucker. Then probably torch the rest.
What if we infiltrate one of their deliveries? Sneak in and find out when their next delivery is. Take out the delivery driver, steal the uniforms, sneak in that way.
Jester, I like the way you're thinking.
But during the day, run issues, but it's less likely you'll be leached in that actual vehicle.
Also, a lot
Makes
of places like this use third-party delivery services or medical transport services if they don't have their own. I mean, I'm assuming the leeches probably have a more secure means of delivering their stash, but for the hospitals and some of the other places that it goes, it's a possible way in if we can find out when the deliveries are supposed to pick up, find out what their route is or where they're coming from, get the vehicle before it gets there. They're not going to know the drivers unless it's the same driver, and based off of some of these manifests, it's usually not. It's whoever's working that particular day. As long as you have good identification, it could work.
You could work your magic on that, Artie, and maybe you can work your magic on getting some paperwork to get some blood out. and we could steal it, give Spud what he wants, and destroy the rest.
It's gonna have to be quick. Not gonna be my best work, but I could probably throw something together that you could alter the badges, put your own face on there, keep everything else the same, and yeah, it should be all right.
I could probably get you a badge. I could post up for a couple of days, get some photographs, get some license plates. Probably close enough to one of the trucks to lift off a badge.
Yeah. I mean, if I can get a copy of the badge, I can make you identical copies with your information or a dummy name or something that'll get by. But if I have to do it on the fly, it's going to be literally taking a photo, cropping over, and, relaminating it. It's going to be messy, but hopefully enough that if they're not paying too close attention, it'll go by unnoticed. As for a manifest, he starts typing at the computer again and typing, and then his typing gets a little more rapid and he starts leaning in, getting closer to the screen. And then after a moment, he immediately slams the laptop shut, pulls it over his knee, and snaps it in half over his knee. I'll be right back. And he gets up and scrambles away from the table, rushing out of the building.
I'll look to Aiden. He probably got found. Like tracked, except on the internet.
Oh, Aspen told me about that.
Mhm.
Some weird stuff, weird people out there.
Yeah, there was probably someone sniffing his trail.
I can help him with it later. I got a thing I could do. I'm sure he could do it too, but we'll figure it out.
If that's the case, why don't we switch some things up instead? Why don't we have Aiden and Lucas go look into that, get the badges and things, since you guys are much better at scouting and finding things in hard to reach areas. No exploding any leeches, please. At least for now.
That was an
Just for now.
accident.
He said it was a rare thing. I don't know why you think this is what we do.
I wish we could do that. That would be.
I do too.
I would be out there with your permission doing that every night.
Like balloons.
Or a Buffy episode.
I am trying to make light of an aggravating situation to, move past it. But please don't blow up leeches or stab them or run after them or anything along those lines. Just get what we need so we can move through this as easily as possible. Does that sound okay? Are you guys both all right with that?
So just to make sure we're just getting the badge, we're not stealing the truck and the uniforms, just badges.
I think the badges would be best. Any other information that you could get would be wonderful for us.
I'll shoot you a message if an opportunity comes up, like, hey, we can make this happen right now, but we won't do anything without actually letting you know beforehand.
Perfect. Sounds great. I am going to go check on Artie and make sure his laptop is okay.
Check his knee too. He's fragile.
So, as the group brings their meeting to a close, everyone given their separate assignments, going their separate ways to follow up on leads, to find more information. Yes, Aspen.
Aspen would like to go outside and actually check on him because she is going to walk up to him, make sure he's all right.
He's in the crematorium at the moment, having thrown the laptop into the furnace and firing up the furnace to burn any remains of the computer as quickly as possible. He seems all right, a little bit frustrated, but he doesn't seem any worse for wear.
Okay, she's going to turn him around, though. She's going to be like, hey, I'm going to go with you to the loss support. I'll go with you.
It's the same community center I used to take him to play basketball, and when Mom wasn't around, weirdly fitting, but also not in a good way.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make sure I'm there for you.
Thanks. And he leans in and gives you a kiss. Everything
She'll
else work out okay?
reciprocate. Yeah, I think we've got a good plan. There's a possibility that they might steal a truck, but we'll see what happens. You know, it's this group. I kind of just roll with the punches now. And she grabs him by the hand and starts walking him out.
And with that, we'll go to a quick 5-minute break. And when we return, the pack will be going about their separate means of business, having some important conversations, following up on some leads, as I said, and possibly uncovering some new information about the cult, about the kindred, and about the problems they face. We'll be back in 5 minutes. See you shortly. in the first half, the pack got together to have a little bit of a check-in, to get caught up, to see the situation, as a lot has happened over the last couple of weeks, and it was pretty necessary to get back on the same page and to pick a path of attack moving forward, as there are many avenues with their own perils and own consequences awaiting them. But now we find Aiden, who wanted to have a conversation, a check-in with Artie. So after the meeting has concluded, you stopped Artie and said, "Hey man, let's hang out," effectively, and Artie took Aspen back to the apartment before heading out to Lettuce Lake Park to meet with Aiden. So Aiden, as you're waiting at the park, eventually you hear the rumbling Jeep of Regina moving down the gravel driveway, the back driveway that leads to the camp where the RV is set up, where you've been living for several months now, probably past a year at this point. The tires come to a screeching halt, the gravel groaning and grinding underneath the tires as it stops, and as the engine cuts off, Artie climbs out of the driver's seat. "Hey."
Hey, have a seat. Pat one of the chairs next to him.
"All right." Artie reaches back into the cab and pulls out one of those 6-packs of beer that he brings over and sets on the table. "What's up?"
Well, you and I haven't had a chat. Things have been crazy, so
"Tell me about it."
yeah. Yeah. So just wanted to make sure everything was all right, and I know you had a little thing that just happened. So are you okay?
"Yeah, that ritual, that was a first for me, and I didn't think truly knew what I was getting into with all that. And I know you were busy doing the fighting thing, but apparently I was the subject to a Bane that knew things and started talking about my past, something that I don't really like to reflect on as much as others might, and it was rough, but I'm doing much better now."
Good.
"How about you? I mean, let's talk about that fucking Charles guy. What's his deal?"
Charles is a interesting person. Him and I have a understanding now.
Yeah, why don't you expand upon that? That was understanding's a pretty big word for you, bud.
Yeah, that's a lot of syllables. Another big
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, look at you.
Those some of the books Aspen left behind, start picking those up.
Nice.
Yeah. Jester helps with the really big ones.
She's good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, the word because threw me off. That CAUS. No,
Yeah, because doesn't
it
seem like it
makes.
should be cuz.
That's what I said. She's like, no, it's I'm like, whatever, fine, sure. But anyways, Charles is someone who does have the best interest for the pack and Aspen at heart. He is. I thought we were protective over Aspen. He is also not the same as you or the same as me, but in a different way. And at first I didn't quite understand it, but he wants the pack to succeed, and for us to succeed, we have to see Aspen as the leader that she is. And I have to get past seeing her as that friend and more as the alpha. And he kind of helped me realize that aspect of things. Just kind of answering things when I want to, doing whatever I want, and then just getting back to her doesn't work anymore. We have a lot going on, and she needs me for certain things, and I need to be available. But I didn't come to that realization quickly with him. He poked at me a lot. First, he came up to me after I just killed a deer. and he was lingering around, and I didn't like that. And then he was going on and on about how Aspen needs me, and I was trying to tell him, okay, let's go. And he wouldn't really get to the point, and he eventually started talking about links and that how I was the weakest one in the pack, and that didn't sit right with me. So I kind of went all big and hairy on him, and him and I fought.
How'd that
S-
go?
Uh, we cleaned up a good chunk of it. Lots of blood and broken stuff. Way out there. He's fast and very, very strong. Uh, he's going to help me understand how to be a better Arun. Now, nothing against Duncan. My mentor, he taught me how to be an Arun within a pack of a lot of Arun and a sept and the other Garou I can rely on. And I kind of I didn't understand that that's going to be different here.
Yeah, we're in really different circumstances. This is kind of uncharted territory. I mean, a lot of those bigger septs have been established for generations and have been around. This is kind of breaking new ground, even if it is formerly old ground. Like we're on our own out here, and that makes things a lot more perilous. See, I can say
Yeah,
big words too.
I don't know what that means.
Dangerous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perilous.
Perilous. Yeah, you got it,
Okay.
man.
But he basically told me that I need to be available at every moment of every day because something could happen with the pack and that I need to be there as the Arun. So I'm trying to figure that out. Apparently, Aruns don't sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to first off, I want to say sucks to have someone encroaching on your lunch, doesn't it? But also,
That
aside
was
from
different.
that, I get what he's going for, but our connection with Aspen is what makes us follow her, is what encourages us to follow her. He's talking like it's something that we're, bred to do, like it's something inside of us, but it doesn't work that way. Like we are connected. Yes, we have the connection through Gaia, the connection through a purpose and, of being what we are, but there's also the human side of it. We can't forget that. I mean, trust me, I know just as well as you how special Aspen is, how important Aspen is. And I don't follow her because it's of a title or because of what tribe she comes from or the fact that, she's puts us in our places when we need it. I follow her because I couldn't imagine following anyone else.
I
Because I
understand that.
respect her and I want to see her succeed and because I know her heart and I know it's in the right place and I know she wants what's best for us as individuals, us as a pack, as a sept, as a society. I don't do it because of duty. Because if it was because of duty, this duty sucks. I mean,
Yeah.
like we're having to fight a pretty perilous
Hmm.
battle right now. We're
It's all
outnumbered. We
uphill.
we don't have a lot of information, but I'd follow her to the end of the earth. And I don't have to be a soldier or a dutiful person to do that. When she needs me, I do what she needs me to do because I trust her and I believe in her. But I'm not going to stop viewing her as my person because I'm told I have to fall in line. I'm not going to stop thinking of her as the most special person I've ever met, the person who gives me something to look forward to when I wake up every day, I'm not going to think of her any differently or treat her any differently because I know that's not what she would want. Yeah, when she puts on her authority voice, we have to listen. We have to do our job, but we have to know it doesn't come from a place of not viewing us as the individuals, her friends, her something mores, her, you know, her pack. It's because that's how important it is to her. And we need to support her in whatever way possible. And no, man, you don't have to be at her beck and call every minute. She'd hate that, you'd hate that. That's what I'm for. I'm by her
True.
side. I'm keeping her safe, and I'm not fragile, by the way.
Oh, you heard that?
She told me.
Oh, jerk.
I will
I mean,
never
I didn't
let
say anything.
I will never let anything bad come to her. We all have these abilities to fight because that is what the spirits gave us. That is what Gaia gave us. You are our Arun. When you're needed, you're there. And you weren't needed at that camp. You were doing what you needed to do, which is take care of yourself, which is something we also need to do. You needed to please your patron, and I'm not even going to launch into patron pleasing. My patron, for the most part, is a car. I just need to make sure it's filled with gas and taken and washed every now and then. But you're doing the job, and you're doing it well. And anyone to try and judge you or shit on you for the way you're doing it hasn't walked in your shoes, hasn't been in your life, in your position. When you needed us, we were there for you. When we need you, you're there for us. And that's all we can ask of each other. So, yeah, he probably has some things he can teach you. Yeah, he probably can make you a better fighter. But your instincts, those don't need work. You've got the right instincts. You've got the right mindset, and your heart's in the right place. Don't forget, we all are the Arun. We all are the Galliard, the Philodox, the Ragabash, the Theurge. We're all of those things. Because we're one. We're a pack.
No, what you're saying, I appreciate it. What he told me is true, though. He told me what I asked him what he had thought so far. For the short time he's been here, I've messed up twice. I went and did something I shouldn't have done. I got goated into doing something.
Goaded.
Goaded
It's not a
into.
goat like that. No,
I thought it was a weird word.
No, it's goaded. It's
Goaded.
You got tricked, my guy.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
And I didn't let Aspen know. She's never talked to me like that when her and I had to go through that, and that sucked. And it wasn't so much the words that she said, it was the feeling that I had about letting her down. That's the part that hurt more than the words that she was saying. Is the effect that they had. And then come to find out that I left my phone at home because I had to go appease my patron. She needed me for something else, and I wasn't there. And these are points that he had brought up, and that he's right. I did something that I shouldn't had, and then I was asked to help with something that, and it's nice to know that you guys didn't need me there. But if something did turn, you guys were outnumbered. You didn't have any of the Arun with you. We were both here. So what he says does have that meaning, and it does. I'm gonna listen to what he has to say, because I don't want to let her down. And I hear also that I shouldn't have to change how I see her, but how I interact with her and way I do things can make others react the same. So if I treat her with respect, others should do the same as well. They should already be doing that, but if more people see that, it helps with that leadership quality that she already has. And I want to help her build up and try and get this place to where it needs to be. And I can't do that with the way I'm currently acting.
If this were 6 months ago, I'd agree with you. The Aiden, when we first met, when we first came together, he was naive. Naive meaning unaware of. I think you got that one. But
I got that one.
He was still walking with kids' shoes. You know, you were still figuring out the whole human experience. And as he's saying this, he fishes into a cargo pants pocket and pulls out a 20 ounce of soda and passes it to you. Pre-shook, by the way. You can just
Oh,
help
perfect.
yourself to that. He was still learning. You've learned a lot and you've grown a lot since then. And I don't know. I get a weird feeling about this guy. He had Aspen second guessing, trying to tell her not to worry and to only think like a leader. And sure, there's probably some wisdom in that, but look at the guy. Not a lick of humor in him. It's like he's just an automaton, a robot. He just... What is this fight without passion? What is this battle without caring and love and dedication and devotion? I wasn't raised in a sept. I'm not from a lineage of Garou or anything like that. I had to figure a lot of this shit out on my own, just like you, just like Aspen, just like Jester. And I'll be damned if I'll ever stop being Artie for the fight of Gaia, because in that case, we've already lost. If I had to give up what made being alive special, what made it worth it, if I had to give up jokes and games and pranks, what's the point? Like, I'm not a soldier. I am a guy who cares for this planet, cares for these people, wants to see wrongs punished. And I'm not going to have that taken away from me. Not for a title in the nation, not for Charles's respect. If the nation doesn't want to support us, fuck them. We'll do it without them. I guess in some small way, as fucked up as it is, I respect the cult for that. Because they're doing it. Now they're doing it in a really extreme terrorist kind of way, but they're not letting the nation decide what their fight's going to be and where.
It's fair.
If the nation wants our respect, then they have to earn it just as much as we have to earn theirs. It goes both ways. So yeah, learn from him. I'm sure some of what he says is true. I'm sure there's some wisdom underneath that overpriced haircut of his. But the Aiden I know, the Aiden I trust and follow and believe in, is funny. Makes mistakes. And when he makes those mistakes, he makes up for those mistakes. One thing I respect about Aspen as a leader is she doesn't give up on us, no matter how many mistakes we make. So rather than thinking that you have to be a lapdog by her side, and by the way, you're not allowed to sleep at the end of the bed. That's a house rule. You'll have another chance. And you're going to kill it. Like you do. And we're going to continue fighting this fight, continue moving forward. And we're going to win. Because this team, there's something special about this team. I've never met more extraordinary people in my life, you included. I like to have fun with you. I like to joke about sandwiches, but you are a fucking badass, my guy. I wouldn't want to pick a fight with you.
You tried.
Yeah, and it was dumb. And I still have this thing in my hip where it like clicks or something. I don't know. It hurts.
Well, that's
But
because you stepped wrong. That's not my
well,
fault.
not if all of us were taught by a sept and got to be wolves our whole. Neither
My
here nor
bad.
there. I know when you're needed, you're there. And if you're not there and you're still needed, nothing is going to stop you from getting there.
You're right. But okay, and this part you can't tell anyone about, okay? I get one more mistake, and that mistake's it. Charles steps in at that point, and he becomes the Arun of the pack. He said I get one more. I already tried besting him once. In the beginning, he wasn't even really trying. I mess up one more time. That's it. When we ended up in the lake, and he'll point out to where they ended up falling in. And I'm pretty sure I died out there. There was one point where, in the movies they talk about the whole light thing, and then don't go towards the light and all that kind of stuff. That's a real thing. There's this thing that happened out there, and it went back home. My pack as a wolf was there. Stone was there. I was brought back to Charles standing over me. So he's already beat me once, and he can do that. I get one more mistake, and that's it, and I'm out. So I need to shape up. I can still be Aiden, I can still do all these things, but if I don't, Aiden the Arun will no longer be around.
We just got to make sure that doesn't happen, don't we?
That's the plan.
I got your back, always. Charles is useful, and him being here is probably good for us. It's good to have another wrecking ball on our side, but he's not this pack. And I appreciate that Aspen's bringing him in. I appreciate that she thinks he has a spot. I appreciate that Jester thinks we should bring him in, if anything, to appease the spirits and be able to use our gifts and not have another rider situation. But in my mind, he's not our pack. He's a potential bridge to something else, a connection, an asset. And when he shows me something that isn't dressed up in $1,000 suit, looking down his nose at us like we're lesser, when he shows me something I can trust and believe in, maybe I'll reconsider. But until then, he's a guest and nothing more to me. You are my Arun, and I don't care if he beats you. I don't care if you mess up. You're my Arun.
I plan to keep it that way. I did ruin his suit though,
Good.
like big time. Like mud, blood, ripped apart. It was great. I felt really good about that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then when we had to go get into his car, I might have like squished around in his stupid little leather seats. Really stick it to him.
Nice.
Yeah. He'll then grab the can and pop it open and shake it towards himself.
The liquid just sprays out and foams and just bathes you in the sticky substance.
There's got to be an easier way.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do about that. And Artie shakes up one of the beers and sprays it all over himself. Just keep doing you. That's all I ask. And if you ever feel like you're doing less than what you're capable of, come talk to me and we'll we'll get you back on the right path. But don't let one bad day change you.
Yeah. No, you're right. See, I knew you were the guy to talk to about this. I missed our talks. You're so busy having your nose up Aspen's ass, so
Hey, it is
the little brown buddy.
it's cozy up there.
All right, okay. But I am craving a burger. I found $1. Jester left $1.
It's on me, buddy. Let's go.
You sure? All right,
Yeah.
cool.
And with that, you head to Regina, climbing into the Jeep, pulling out of Lettuce Lake Park, going to enjoy a meal and some time together as friends and packmates. Because believe it or not, you can be both. And with that, we transition. It's a couple of days later. Lucas, you and Aspen have been in correspondence about a much needed conversation, a talk that both of you want to have. And so a meeting is made and the two of you arrive. Aspen, where is this meeting taking place?
I probably would have taken him into the wooded area around Lettuce Lake just because it's comfortable. And as much as she enjoys the apartment with Artie, it's her home. So
Okay. It's been a few days. There is a storm brewing on the horizon, one that is set to not make landfall in this particular area, but is to bring some high winds and rain. And so people have been preparing about the possibility of this storm. But you and Lucas are able to find a time of peace and calm where the rain has parted for a little while. And you're in the woods of Lettuce Lake, meeting just a short ways from where the RV is set up and going for a walk through the woods. The ground is a little bit squishy beneath your feet from the constant rain that has been happening over the previous days. But you're comfortable, you're home. Not a lot of tourists or park goers visiting the park at this particular time. The sun is trickling in through the branches up above, casting shades of green as it shines through the leaves on the ground, as well as little sunspots of light pooled around by a little bit of darkness from the shade. And the scene is yours.
Lucas is just kind of standing there, staring up at the sky, just kind of listening.
Aspen will approach him and just kind of put her hand on his shoulder. You want to go for a walk?
Look over and smile. Yeah, sorry, I was just seeing if he was talking. He'll look around for a second and kind of look at the walkway and then look around and look at a tree in particular. He's like, yeah, let's go that way.
Yeah. And she'll start walking that direction. I don't know, how is everything? How are
Getting
you
used-
adjusting?
I'm getting used to the heat, so that's pleasant. These rains, this is welcome. I like this. We can do this a lot more. I'll be a lot happier.
All right, so just, hit you up when it's raining. We can have nice conversations.
I can have a nice conversation at any point. Come on, give me more credit than that. What about you?
I'm okay. I think there's a lot going on, but we're making it work, all of us together, I think. I
How's
don't know.
everything going with Charles?
Charles is great. Charles is he's doing his job, and that's all I can ask for.
I think the real question I have to ask is, who did you piss off to get him here?
No one, actually. My mentor and friend just wanted to make sure he saw us succeed. So he left Charles here with me to make sure that that happens. I don't know if it's think it comes from a place of caring, but sometimes it feels like he's just putting someone else here to make sure that I don't fuck it up.
Do you think you're going to?
I think it depends on the day.
That's fair. I am going to have to disagree. I don't think that came from a place of loving concern.
Well, what is
I-
your opinion on it then?
When you screw up, sometimes you learn a lesson. And that's your penance for it. You learn and you move on. But there are some people out there, some people that think that they're better than you, some people that think that they know better, and some people that don't even have their goddamn boots on the ground, that think they have to teach you the lesson. They have to be the one that tells you what it is that you're supposed to learn. And I fear those people have more on their mind than the mission.
Okay. But tell me, Lucas, with all due respect, not coming at you in any way, how does that make you any different?
I'm here doing the mission. I'm not sending someone else to do it for me.
Okay, so your issue is with who sent him and not him himself.
I mean, he's a dick, but it takes one to know one. Let's be completely clear on that. I will consider myself the expert and give my expert courtly opinion to the lawyer. Yeah, he's a dick, but I can deal with the dick. That's neither here nor there. But and coming from a place of not meaning any offense, certain members of our kind, certain tribes, and I'm not saying yours and I'm not saying mine, but let's be clear, it's yours and mine, have ideas about how things should be run and ideas about how things should be done. And they don't like people disagreeing with that. And they'll do what they need to do to make sure it happens the way they want it to happen. And that's what I'm concerned is going on. This is your sept, your pack. Why would you ever let somebody watch you and make sure you're doing it right?
There's more to that than just thinking that I need somebody to watch over me. If I thought that's what I really needed, I would have not done any of this. I would have cut my losses and gone somewhere where I know I'd succeed. But I think I would be a fool to not take experience in whatever form it comes in. I think I would be a fool if I turned you away because of my suspicions and because of your history, because you bring something as well. You have something to teach me as well. I think Charles is the same. There's a lot of things he says or feels that I disagree with, but I don't outright shun it. I take it and I use it. And if it doesn't suit me, then it doesn't suit me. And if I don't feel it's right, then it's not right for me. But to completely turn someone down, turn them around, turn them away because we don't see eye to eye or because they have their own wants. Everybody has their own agenda, their own moral code, their own personal feelings. And for me to say that I'm judge and executioner and all of that here, that's not my say. I have sway, 100%. 100%. That's why I'm in this position. That's why Jester and Artie and Aiden have me as their alphas, because they trust me to have that sway and to know when enough is enough and when people need to be turned away. But I think if there's not a justified reason, no matter how much of a pain in the ass they are, that's not who I am. I won't. Everyone's a lesson at the very least.
Do you think? Let me back that up. Did you consult with them before you formally decided to bring me into the pack?
I did.
What makes Charles different?
It doesn't make him any different. I asked all of you. I did exactly what I did with you. He just happened to be in the room. And I didn't think any of us, I think we're all confident enough to say what we mean and mean what we say, regardless of who's in the room. That's what makes us all strong.
Right. Yes. When you were initially asked or told, I wasn't in the room, so I won't make assumptions, that he was going to be coming with you. Do you think that might have been the better time to ask us if we thought it was okay?
Well, no, because I didn't have him as a position within our pack. I didn't have him. He wasn't for you all. He was for me because of my connection to my mentor. I think that that's different. If you guys were uncomfortable with it, I would 100% listen, but it was never brought up to me. And if what you're saying is I shouldn't have brought him around because I should have consulted you all first, that would be like me saying, well, you cannot have other friends and Garou mentors, what have you, within the city without okaying it by me. That takes away a lot of autonomy, I think.
Okay. I guess that puts that to bed. That's fair. I just know that sometimes, man, things come with a price. And it doesn't come up front, but the bill always comes due. So just be careful. I mean, you should know your kind better than I do, although I think we both have ideas about each other's kinds. But if you find yourself in a situation you don't know a way out of, complicated situation that needs a delicate hand, you got my number.
I do, and I appreciate your loyalty in that respect. It means a lot to me. But I trust the pack as a whole. I trust all of you. I even trust you, even though you like to talk in your fancy little circles sometimes. Like, oh, I will do exactly what Artie said, exactly how he said it. I wasn't unaware of that. I just didn't want to argue semantics with you in a pack meeting. But, I respect you for who you are and how you do things. And I hope you respect me in the same way I do things. And it may be controversial, but I know we all have our own gifts and ideas when it comes with our tribes and our auspices. But to me, we're all just individuals. Just because you come with a tribe or an auspice doesn't mean I know everything about you or assume to know who you are.
It's good, because you don't. Thank you. But yeah, I don't think. Well, I think that's your decision to make. You don't have to question my loyalty, but you will constantly have to question my methods. So just understand that I'm here and I'm going to do what we're going to do because it's all I've ever known and it's all I've ever done. So Charles is very familiar to me in that regard. People like him, people like me, we don't get to grow up like you and Jester and Artie, especially not like Aiden did. We don't get to have those birthday parties and gossip at the locker, whatever it is that you go through. We don't get to have that. We don't grow up with that. So what we see and what we do, the mission is our life. I mean, we're mean, I know how to use a knife before I was double digit in age, so you could say that people like me and people like Charles were pretty much just child soldiers. It's what we are. We just made it past that point to actually join the fight. So we're complicated. We're different. So I get
understand
them,
that.
but I don't have to like them.
Absolutely not. You don't have to like really anyone, I guess, but I have a feeling you wouldn't be here if you didn't like us just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just that much.
Just
Eh,
enough to keep you wanting a little bit more.
the
We have that effect
meetings
on people.
are a little boring, but I keep coming back. I don't know why. I just do. So it's fine. Um, anyway, you also wanted to talk about some stuff, I guess.
I did. I want to talk about a couple of things before that, though. The thing that happened with you and Aiden. I don't think you and I ever cleared the air, and I'm past the anger, I guess you could say. But I hope we can come to an understanding sooner than later. Would make it easier, I think, for both of us, that we don't need to do this back and forth of, well, you want a certain thing and you don't think I'd give it to you, so you do it in a way that you're used to. And then I get angry, so I perpetuate the stereotypes that you think I already have within me. And we do this over and over and over until contention turns to friendship or enemies. That just sounds like a lot of work. And I'd like to get past all of that if that's okay with you.
No, that's fine. What happened between me and Aiden? It happened fast. He had ideas of things he wanted to do. I don't work like that. So we weren't going to do that. And he's in a room, and I'm a ragabash. And I can tell you, we couldn't be more different. And so we had to find something to breeze that over. And that was the fastest thing I could think of. And it went south. Yeah, it probably shouldn't have happened the way that it happened, but I think we have an understanding now.
Also, as somebody who, within the first conversation I had with them, wanted to be the challenge guy, you'd think you'd know that that wasn't really a real challenge.
Well, I don't think he knew what he wanted to get out of a challenge anyway. So I figured I would take that situation and drive it towards something that we could use. Didn't work out that way, but I tried to focus it somewhere where it was needed more.
And you guys got interesting information, so I will give you that at least. And maybe it was in its own weird way a bonding between you and Aiden. So if that's how it had to happen, then sure. But just, in the future, it'd be nice to just know what's going on. Like, I'm not going to, I might tell you can't do something, but a lot of the time, if it's something you're going to do anyways, I'd rather just know about it.
I'll keep you updated.
I appreciate that.
Said somebody's got to water my plants if I die.
Well, I can, I have the opposite of a green thumb, but I can do what I can.
If we keep walking a little bit, I'll show you something. We'll get there here shortly. But I mean, yeah. To be honest, we are creatures of anger, and that anger is going to boil over. And you can't have all that on your shoulders. And this is not me making a play for power. I know I want to, but it's logical in this regard. You do need somebody to manage those things for you. But that is also something that can wait until we grow a little bit more in size. More packs. I'm an idealist. So at some point, you're going to need somebody to manage it. You will.
I agree with you. But think it's smart of all of us to take it one step at a time. We're still, for the most part, getting to know each other in different ways. Aiden and Artie and Jester and I have gotten closer. We've been through a lot in the short amount of time we've been together, but we still don't know everything about all of each other. So I think that trust and that falling into where we fit best will happen as we move through these one after another trial and turbulation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could punch Star in the shoulder because I feel like I owe that to Star for dragging me down into this shit. But I haven't left yet, so I'm either crazy or enjoying it, one or the other.
I think a little bit of both.
Probably.
Speaking of crazy, though, the reason I did want to talk to you is about, well, your favorite person, Charles. He had mentioned Chicago and said I should have a conversation with you about it.
What about Chicago?
The issues that happened up there between, I guess, leeches and Garou. He particularly said it after we met up with Spud, so he was probably feeling some sort of way and was like, oh, well, that'll change your mind. I'm sure that's what he was trying to do. But, I'm always fascinated by the history, and I think you can learn something from history. So who better than somebody who was in the area?
It was a touch before my time, but man, did these stories get told every moot, every gathering, every time people get together. They talk about the blood war, they talk about how bad it was, they talk about the victories, they talk about the losses. Yeah, it was rough. So from secondhand knowledge, and you know how stories get told around the campfire, Chicago, a lot of leeches up there, like a lot of leeches up there. But the area surrounding Chicago, and even one particular point in Chicago itself, do belong to us and have for, gosh, years and years and years, decades, centuries probably. The opening shots were us. From what I hear, a group of Nars actually attacked a club that belonged to them. And of course, they didn't take too kindly of it. So, in the aftermath of that, some of our galleon went missing. And that's when they sent out the call just north-ish of Chicago. There's a sept up there. I think it's the Sept of the Raccoon. It's mostly Shadow Lords. They sent out the call that they were gonna go in, and they were gonna cause some problems, and we were gonna get our people back. So that's when it all started. We started moving south into the city, hitting places where we knew their servants lived and worked, because it was the cops who picked up our galleon, controlled, of course, by them. At some point, the head of them in the city, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he, at that point, just declared all out war. And so for the next couple of nights, it was blood, and lots of it. At one point, a group of them came to us and said they didn't want any of the heat no more, and that they were off limits and we were off limits. So we agreed to that. We found out where they were holding our people, and that son of a bitch Jackson was the one that was holding our people. He runs that city now, by the way. He's the head up there. Everybody knows his name. Everybody does. And we went after him, went after them. Didn't get him. Got some of our people back. And at that point, we went looking for the head of the city. That was our next target. We were going to cut the head off the snake. And this is the part that I refuse to believe, because this is the part you're going to laugh about. But the rumor amongst the Seps is that we got the location of where he lives. You're never going to believe this. You'd never guess. From Al Capone. Like the Al Capone. I think it's a bullshit story. I'm pretty sure it's a bullshit story. But, I mean, this was in the early 90s, mid 90s. So that makes zero sense. But if he was one of them, sure. But I mean, it's Chicago. Everything's a rumor and everything's a story. So whatever. We hit where he lives, and a lot of Garou went in there, and a lot of them didn't come out. But we managed to cut the head off the snake. And we got him. It was bad from what they say, but some people tell the story as a great, glorious battle. I mean, you know how it goes. And then things kind of died down after that. But that's when the epilogues of the story started to come out. That it wasn't us who started it. That it was a totally different group. It was a totally different organization of leeches that did it. They manipulated us into striking first. They gave away the locations of our galleon. They fed us information on where they were at. And we got played the entire time. So the whole fight was just probably a power play amongst their own kind. And that scares the shit out of me. I mean, these things can get really old. Really, really old. And to be able to manipulate that many of our kind at that level to start an entire war of the city just to get a few blocks, just to take out some people you don't like. And I get it. You're talking to one of them now, and that's fine. Like, I'm not the guy that you should ever expect is going to judge you for that. I'm not. Get the information where the information is good, but man, you got to watch out for these things. They can come up and get inside of us and manipulate us and twist us and have us thinking one thing and doing another. And that's what we have to be careful of. Hitting locations like we're doing now is fine. But we're going to have to be way smarter than we are now. We're going to have to be slicker, quieter, and we're going to have to beat them at their own game.
You think this plan to get rid of their food sources is going to work?
I think it's going to put them in a panic. I think the more powerful ones will be fine. They're old, they have contingency plans. And just like, you think of this like medieval history, when the siege on the castle starts, it's always the poor people that die first. They don't eat as well. This is going to be that same scenario. I mean, I brought up starving them out and cutting off their food supply in the very beginning. I think it's the best start to this. But they're going to find out it's us eventually, and we have to be prepared for that.
You think where we are now, we are ready for a possible situation like Bloody Mary?
I think you're right on a lot of things about working together in communication and how much we suck at it. But I also think there's a lot of other strengths in this pack that we're not utilizing. And the only way we're going to be able to take her down anytime soon is we have to be one pack, working as one massively deadly creature. And that's going to be hard.
And how do you suggest we embolden that?
I think this first mission is going to be a good step in that right direction. Yeah.
Good. Okay. What are your concerns?
That we don't know enough. And we're going after Bloody Mary, and I'm late to the game on this, so you guys have a lot more of a horse in this race than I do. Not to say that I'm not on board. I am on board. I just don't have that connection that you guys have to it. And that's okay. This is the pack, and I will do what the pack is going to do. Doesn't mean I'm going to run and leave. But we don't know a damn thing about her. We don't know where she sleeps. We don't know what she eats. We don't know what kind of car she drives. We don't know anything. We can't just jump somebody like this in a back alley. That's going to go bad. It has to be calculated, and it has to be perfect.
I think that's where you and I are similar. I think we need more information as well. And I think we could all work together and figure out how to get that information. We've got more than we've gotten the whole time we've been here, just in a few weeks, which is great. It's wonderful. But I think we need to pursue those more. And the food sources, of course, is going to help in the long run. I don't think we should stop with that. But I think if I can trust you to respect me, I think you and Aiden could do a lot of good work with that.
No, I think that was a good call, pairing us together like that. And you're right. If there is an opportunity to gain an advantage, we should gain it. And if the time permits, I will 100% relay the information before we do it. But if I see a juicy kill in front of me that's going to help us in the long run, it's going to be damn near impossible for me not to take it, especially if it's easy. But I will do my best.
Well, then I'm glad I'm pairing you two together. You guys can drive each other crazy and, keep each other safe all at once.
The other thing is, yeah, we can get big and mean. They can get strong and dangerous, but we have an advantage that they don't. We can move in places they can't. We can commune with things they can't. We need to rely on things that they have no access to. So we need Eliza badly.
I agree with you. And you're welcome to talk to her at any time. She's made herself a great asset to us. I'm not super versed on spirits, and unfortunately, the asset we had in that form is found. His need is elsewhere. So that's unfortunate for all of us, and that is going to be, unfortunately, a weak point for us. So we've got to figure out how we can make that stronger. And Eliza is definitely a great one to talk to about it, but she's not going to be the strength that we need in those active moments. So we need to figure out how we can fill those spaces of all of us together in whichever way we can.
And we may have to make some friends we're not necessarily comfortable making, which yours seem to be on the right track too. So keep running that down. And I think if we get ahead of a situation like that, it's not, it's less likely that it's going to come and bite us in the ass afterwards.
I completely agree. I think once the bigger issue is out of play, then that's something we can focus on. It'll seem like small spuds, small potatoes.
It's a good one. That's a good one. He'll stop and look around, and he'll look down, and he'll kneel down in front of like a purplish green plant. He'll take out a little knife and he'll start digging, you know, cut away some roots and pull them up and look at them and hold them up in front of his face. Datura. It's a mild hallucinogenic. You powderize it, put it in liquid. It's decently effective. There's a lot of other stuff out here that I've planted, so this is not my first time walking in these woods. So be careful what you run into out here. Yeah, I like to grow things, but not everything I grow is a pretty flower. Well, some of them have flowers. The stuff at the fountain is going to make some beautiful flowers next spring.
Is that you?
Yeah, it was me.
Should have known.
It is, well, Miss Lawyer Lady, that is spotted hemlock. It's incredibly toxic, but it's also about as high on the endangered list as you can get for a plant. So I would recommend filing something with the EPA or conservation programs, because if these leeches really want to shit on us where we can't fight them, they'll try to acquire this place. And if there's an environmental protection order on it, they can't acquire shit. So
Good idea. I'll work on that.
my
Also,
present,
you do me a favor and teach me more about these plants. The ones you've planted, I guess, around.
we'll do some nature walks. Absolutely.
Good. I'd like that.
And as they continue to enjoy a walk through the Lettuce Lake Park, we transition to across town to a remote trailer park, this pack knows all too well. Jester, as you arrive outside of Eliza's trailer, prepared to bring in some takeout to the door, you see a note on the door that says, "Outback, come say hi." You walk
I'll let-
around the side of the trailer and you find Eliza kneeled in front of those garden boxes that you saw she had constructed out behind the trailer, and you can see that dirt has been laid down and several of the plants are starting to sprout and grow. And as she's kneeled beside it, she's tending the plants, removing some weeds, clipping away some excess. And before you can even say anything, before you can even get so close, "Did you bring dinner?"
Of course I did.
"That's my girl. Come on over, grab yourself some shears."
All right. I'll grab some gloves and some shears.
And as you kneel down beside her, she points to a plant that you can see has a little bit of excess growth around the side, some weeds starting to try and entwine their way around, and she points to various points, giving instructions as you start to tend them. "It's good to see you, Jester."
It's good to see you too. How are you? Since the other night.
"I was not expecting to be confronted by the past, I have to be honest," Eliza says, her long, kind of curly, grayish hair tied back in a little bun at the back of her head. "Brandon, Ethan. Honestly, those were faces I didn't think I'd see again. It's hard to be confronted by what may be some of your greatest failures. Not that I can blame them for what they did or where they went. The situation did seem dire, it did seem hopeless, but when you think you know somebody, they can surprise you, even still.
They seemed very angry about what happened.
Well, they had every reason to be. They had to watch their friends, their family, choose a path that, well, more likely than not was going to only end one way. We didn't know how, we didn't know what it would look like, but it was terrible what happened. Absolutely terrible, and I would give anything to see that wrong undone. But we do the best we can with what we have. We didn't choose the fight chose us. And Ryder, he was in a very precarious position. After Joseph's passing, he inherited a great deal of responsibility. But someone had to do it, and there was no one better. Joseph knew that. Ryder knew that. It's easy to forget that we're human, and we have human desires, a wish for something more, something after. We can't help but plan for a life after the war, after the battle, because if we don't, it makes the battle seem meaningless. If you expect the war to end in your death, then you are assuring that the war will end in your death, because you will always be running straight towards it. I think Brandon forgets that Ryder was human, forgets that I was human, at least a part of me, and that we can be afraid.
He said that Ryder got his best friend killed. That was Holly, wasn't it?
Yes. Holly and Brandon had a very close connection. They were a unit of sorts. They worked in close quarters with one another. They led their pack together. Brandon was like a second to her, and he respected her greatly. And Ryder and Holly, well, they were connected as well, in a way that only two people who know the struggle of what it is to be Garou can feel.
You don't have to beat around the bush. He loved her.
Very much.
I know. I feel it.
I don't know if it was jealousy or regret or anger that drove Brandon to stray from the path, to choose a path of anger and vengeance. Believe it or not, he was a very logical, soft-spoken young man. He had experienced his fair share of loss, akin to the scale of what happened to the Sept. But he persisted. He found his duty, his place, and he did the best he could. I had high hopes for him. I believed in him. And that's a rare thing with me and members of the Ghost Council. Perhaps I'm the one who needs to learn something, as they always seem to leave, just as it seems like they're making progress.
You haven't seemed to have any luck recently.
No, I have not.
The rest of us are still here, though.
I know.
He said that Ryder kept things installed, and that's what caused the death of Holly and the others.
Ryder had a very long military background before his change. He was a decorated soldier, served several tours, led his own unit of soldiers. He struggled with the sharing of personal and professional. He took his duty and his responsibility very seriously. He was carrying a legacy, Joseph Blackrock's legacy, and that meant a great deal to him. And I think he took too much after Joseph. Joseph, being a Shadow Lord, he had his secrets. Very few knew Joseph the man. They knew Joseph the Alpha, the Sept leader. And that line never blurred in the eyes of most of the Sept. I think it was perfectly natural for Ryder to fear for Holly, to fear for the hope she gave him, the desire for a life after that they both shared. And did it hold his hand? Probably, in many a case. But if the ending was going to be the same, who can fault him for wanting just a little bit more time? A little bit more time to enjoy the here, the now. He knew that a fight was coming. A fight that was likely going to cost him his life, possibly cost him the Sept. I don't think he was in a rush to see that, to find that. He was trying desperately to find any other solution, any other possibility, any other answer. Another way. But he was running out of time and running out of options, and against forces unimaginable to you and I, even though I was there to see it. Dancers, leeches, banes. There were no odds in their favor. And yes, they could have given up the fight and fled, lived to fight another day. But that carries a heavy cost, a shame. And while, yes, that Sept, the members of that Sept may have fought in other battlegrounds, in other Septs, they might have found a purpose elsewhere, but they would always carry that shame. Garou do not cede ground lightly. They fight, even if it means dying. Even if it means losing. Because there is honor in losing. There is glory in dying in service of the Cairn. And that's all you have to take with you into the beyond, is the deeds you did on this place, in this life. I do not believe he wanted Blackrock's legacy to end in shame, in defeat, because of retreat. Joseph sure wouldn't have. And that weighs heavy on a Garou. That weighs heavy on a leader. Because again, what would it all have been for? What would Joseph's death, his mentor, almost like a father figure to him, after his change, what shame would he have felt? Shame he probably still feels, regardless of the outcome. It's a terrible thing. A lonely thing, a burden. And I watch Aspen and Artie, and I'm not naive. I know they are finding that connection as well. How could you not? Who's going to understand you better than your own kind? And I just hope history is not repeating itself.
So, Ryder came back. Joseph said he was following me to actually talk to me a few times now. You were right in thinking that there is an afterlife for Garou, I guess. There's a place that our spirits go. He said he went, but Holly wasn't there. And so he came back.
I swear that boy is part ox, stubborn, even without a pulse.
Maybe that's why he's attached himself to me. I'm stubborn too.
Oh, you don't say.
I didn't give up on you.
And I'm thankful every day for it. You
I'd like to
carry
find.
Blackrock's blade, and therefore Ryder's legacy. It makes sense that he would want to make sure that you are as equipped as you possibly can be. But the afterlife is a big place. It dwarfs the size of the Umbra. And if he didn't find her there, it's likely because he didn't feel like he could face her. He wasn't ready. Whether he feels shame about her loss, regret about his decision that put her in harm's way, or just simply sadness and anger. When we move on, what we feel moves on with us, and he died a very angry person. He may have felt contentment in his final moments, been brought back from the brink, but there was a long path ahead of him, and believe me, I can speak of that with experience. The sad thoughts, they're still there. Lessened, sure. Not smothering me like a wet blanket. But I am coming to terms with them more and more, and watching that I can still make things grow. She gestures to the plants in front of her, and then gestures to you. Shows me I still have much to offer. Still have time. And that there is hope for these old bones. So that when I do pass on and I'm reunited with my beloved Orion, with Ren, with the others, that I'll be ready to do so. That I'll be content with the life that I lived and how I spent my time here.
So, in order to help him, I'm probably going to need to help him come to terms with that.
Yes. But also, he is doing what he believes he has to do, what his purpose calls for. And I think helping him complete that purpose as well will bring some of that peace, some of that calm. His greatest rivalry, his vendetta, is against Bloody Mary. And as long as she stalks this world, continues to cause pain and agony until she is destroyed, I believe he cannot rest.
It's funny. Lucas was asking me why I didn't get angry about Mary. I don't think he understood. I'm not doing Mary for me. Sure, I'm doing it for the pack and for the septs, but also for Ryder. Bateman, on the other hand, that's personal.
Bateman. Bateman is clever, crafty.
I'm going to have to figure out something else for him. I know.
Don't underestimate him. There are those who are strong of arm, like a battering ram like Mary, and there are others who withstand the tests of time, are made of stronger stuff, not that they use to wield, but that they use to endure. Bateman endures. He waits. And you can throw your full weight against him. And if you're lucky, maybe crack his foundation. But he knows he has something that you don't. And he will use it.
Time.
Time. Many of the old ones do. And sure, you might destroy everything he owns, take everything he's created, but he will rebuild long after you're gone. He'll just start anew. Old ones like that one have done it many times, in many places. He doesn't care about beating you. It's not about winning. Because if he needs to, he'll change his name and move elsewhere and just build again. Probably done it before. Likely, if not stopped, will do it again. Their ambition is relentless. And they don't care about the little victories. It's prideful.
Suppose I'm going to have to get help on him. But that's further in the future.
Well, like us, in their own right, yes, they are mostly blood-devouring monsters of the evening tainted by the worm. But they were human once too. And humans always have something that they care about. A weakness. Now, the older ones, they're smart. They'll hide theirs very effectively. But if you can find it, if you can bring it out, it doesn't matter how many empires they've built. It doesn't matter how much wealth they've collected. That is their weakness, their vulnerability. Because without that, they would be the monsters we project them to be. They would not be able to hide in society. They would lose what makes them blend, what hides them. But it's not going to be easy. Like I said, he's one of the older ones. He's probably thought of this many times. His most prized possession, his anchor. You just have to follow the chain that links to it from him. Wherever it is. Could be close. A lot of them like to stay close to keep an eye on their anchors. Others keep them as far away as possible so they're almost unreachable. But they exist. The tools they use against us, the methods going after our loved ones, it's also their greatest vulnerability. That's why they use it. That's why they strike out. Because what hurts others is what hurts them.
So you're saying Mary has one too?
I don't know what to say about that one. She is the most ruthless of their kind I have ever encountered. But she has to, or else you would have encountered her already. There would be nothing holding her back. There's something she cares about, somewhere. Possibly the only thing she cares about.
Okay. I have so many questions. Also from the back.
All right, hang on. She pushes up off of her knees, waddles, kind of like with a limp, slightly over towards one of the lawn chairs and drops down to it, fishes out a vape from her pocket. Go on then.
All right. So have you heard of Aspen working with one of them? Pseudo one of them? I don't get it. Really?
What, like one of their thralls?
No. So he calls himself Spud. Apparently. Aiden said he was a magician. I think he just called himself that because he's a drug dealer. But from what he said, he's not quite them, but the way he explained it was that like he was a younger one and the younger one hadn't ripened yet. We don't really understand what that means, but he apparently claims he's not the same as Bateman or Mary or the others.
Can't say I understand a lick of that. There's the thralls, which are just humans addicted to them. Their blood has certain properties. They have certain abilities that they can manipulate and sway humans. But unripened? No, I can't say I understand that at all.
Okay, it was worth a shot. He's been feeding information to us because he wants to take them down or get back at them. So we'll see how that goes.
I would be
but
wary. Their kind are always looking to take one another down. It's what they're going to build in its place that you have to be concerned about.
I don't think any of us are completely trusting it, but yeah, I'm gonna pass that on to Aiden. Or Aspen. I don't I don't really like it, honestly, but Aspen thinks that there's more benefit than negative right now, so
Well, she's your alpha.
right. And she's way smarter than I am on these things, so I'm just gonna go with it. He did mention though, or tell her that Bloody Mary was a sheriff and there's some sort of hierarchy, like they have a king too. Do you know anything about that?
Probably some sort of outdated terminology that they use to establish themselves. They always want to think of themselves as lords and kings and dukes, and I even heard one called a baron once.
Okay. So it's all pretentious because apparently they call themselves kindred.
Like the hospital?
We looked that up. We're not sure on that one. But I guess like kindred spirits or something. It's really pretentious sounding.
The last thing I think of when I think of those creatures is spirits.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I remember we'd spoken a long time ago, long time relatively, about possibly convincing spirits to help spy. Is that still possible?
It is. A lot of the spirits around here have some bones to pick, but they're warming up to you.
Can you teach me more about the spirits? I mean, with riders sticking around and honestly, maybe us convincing some spirits to help us out. I'm good at convincing people. I might be able to be good at convincing spirits, especially since a lot of them consider you their favorite.
I wouldn't say that much. I've just shown them a kindness that the others take for granted, and, well, I stayed when others left. So I think that there's a bit of camaraderie there, some loyalty there, but I've made my missteps with them in the past. But certainly there are some methods of thought that believe that everything has a spirit. These shears, these plants, even the wood that makes up those garden boxes. Whether they are spirits themselves or came from spirits. Now, some spirits simply serve form and function. It's all they know. They are not as aware, not as intelligent as the others. They usually are servants to a greater spirit, one that instructs them, whether it be from the wild, the weaver, or the worm. Then there are those with a little bit more freedom, a little bit more personality. But there is a class to them, an order of things to them. They are all broken down by their types, by their functions. Grandmother Willow, for example, she is one of the higher ranking spirits. It is believed that she is an avatar of a greater spirit, that she speaks from someone much higher up on the spectrum of the wild. Regina of the Weaver, also a greater spirit, one that has a will of sorts. But really, the spirits are the impressions of creation. Spirits can be created, serve a function, and dissolve, much like plants. Other spirits manifest based off of emotion of a place, of history of a place. It's like clay that is shaped and takes form based off of the actions of our very selves, of those around us. They come from a place deep within the Umbra known as the Spirit Wilds, a place that they return to when they are supposedly destroyed or when they have served their purpose, only to be remade, reshaped, and reforged once again. Star is a herald of sorts, of the Elune spirits of the moon. She has a great deal of autonomy, personality, but she serves a higher spirit. And then there are those that are often mistaken for spirits. And in a way, they are a spiritual essence, but they are, for all intents and purposes, wraiths, ghosts. They are the spirits, the essence left behind of once living things that have traveled quite some space to be here, or never left. Mostly because they didn't let go of something from a past life. They are not the same kind of spirits. They can be spoken to, sometimes dealt with, but really, they're here for their own purposes, even if it's to avoid the beyond. Because the beyond isn't always pretty, isn't always nice. There is a reckoning of sorts waiting for those who deserve it, who have earned it. An oblivion. But yes, I can tell you all about the spirits. I can introduce you to a few, teach you how to conversate with them, how to speak to them, how to connect with them. And yes, with proper motivation, you can employ them. But just like any other thing, there is likely something they will want in return. The lesser spirits, if it's a function that falls within their purview, they don't require much. But the greater ones, the more intelligent ones, the more aware ones, they have their own motivations, their own purposes, and they must be appealed to. They must be appeased before they will do any such complicated tasks for you. It's a balance, like all things are.
I'd like that. At least in memorizing facts and stuff, I'm a little slow, but
You don't need
um,
facts, my dear. You can work with spirits just with your intuition, your instinct, your feelings. Because that's what they understand best. They understand energy, the energy you create, the energy you give off. Trying to deceive a spirit is a very difficult task, especially with the more grandiose of spirits, because they can read your energy. They don't care about your face, whether you're smiling with daggers behind your eyes. They can see beyond that, through that. As we are part spirit, like recognizes like. If you put out a good energy and you are talking to a spirit who is ready to receive such good energy, if you come with conviction, with purpose, with truth, and with a dash of positivity, and you're talking to the right spirit, they will understand you, they will know you, and they will adapt to match that kind of energy. But if you come with anger, hatred, vengeance, you're calling to the wrong spirits. That's where you get your banes. That's what they feed upon. That's what they are seduced by and drawn to. That is what they want. So, depending on the type of spirit you wish to commune with, you're going to have to present yourself in a fashion that is appealing to them.
okay. I kind of get it. Kind of like, not completely, but kind of like dealing with people, the energy you bring. Yeah, we can deceive people, but the energy you bring into a conversation usually helps you get what you want from it.
Of course. And there are those who will believe you and those that won't. The same rings true for the spirits. You have to understand, they have experience also. They have been through things somewhat similar to what you've been through. They've lived lives. Lives, for some of them, longer than any of us could ever deign to witness. And then there are those that are new to the Umbra, new to existence, that are naive and just finding their way, finding their purpose. But they have experience. They have seen things. They have experienced things. They have felt things. Because what we do here impacts them also. That's why a lot of them are angry or hurt or withdrawn. Because we haven't always been kind to them. And I don't mean we as Garou, I mean we as living beings.
Right. And I guess it did help that many Garou left or abandoned the area.
Yes. And thus doing so, abandon those spirits left behind who had to deal with the turmoil and the pain and the destruction that came hereafter.
Speaking of pain and destruction, you mentioned earlier Banes and spiral dancers. Uh, does this have anything to do with Piney Point?
That was the last stand. That was the location where Ryder sent the Sept to destroy the hive of black spiral dancers that had been working with and colluding with the kindred, hate that word, the leeches of the city.
Yeah, we decided not to use Kindred. It's bad.
But yes, that was the location of the hive of the dancers. Uh, uh, a base, if you will, of the worm, like a cairn, but the worm does not consider it cairns, they consider it hives. And of the two options, the one that would have most likely heralded success for the Sept would be to destroy the greater threat, and the greater threat was the hive. As long as they were colluding with the leeches had a weapon that could devastate. And even if they did destroy the leeches, the cost would have been too great. And the dancers would have wrought destruction worse than we possibly have seen here so far in these 10 years.
Because the spirals could access the Umbra.
Yes. And because they didn't care what they destroyed in their path. They weren't here to build something. They weren't here for a legacy or a purpose. They were here for decay. I'll give it to the leeches. They need humans around them. They need life, even if it is just for a food source. They need humans to thrive enough to procreate and continue on. The dancers, they don't need such things. If the world ended, then the dancers fulfilled their purpose.
So, even though the Sept was lost, the sacrifice made sure that Tampa wasn't lost completely.
In a way, yes. The Garou lost a foothold for sure. Many spirits were driven away, perished, returned to the spirit wilds. The corruption of the worm still stands, but it stands much slower than if the dancers had succeeded. It was a necessary sacrifice, whether it was done by this sept or another. If there are black spiral dancers, they are the greatest threat.
Kind of glad that haven't seen any. I mean, I saw a remnant, but I guess that's from back then.
Time works differently in the Umbra. To them, it may have just been yesterday. Or it may have been a millennia.
Okay. One last question. Request, really.
Of course.
We'd like you to join the pack. And hear me out. Hear me out. I'd brought it up because when Ryder died, he'd lost his wolf. And I could have brought it back, but he wasn't back. And so my song didn't work. And I don't want that to happen to you. Honestly, I think of you kind of like a mom.
I'm not sure you understand what you're asking. Because while I could join your pack, I can never be accepted by the nation. And I'm not sure it'll help your case with the nation and gaining the nation's support to have one of me considered one of yours. I will always support you in whatever you do. I will teach you all I have to teach. And I will guide you. And it would be my greatest honor to join your pack, but I think that you all truly need to consider the future. Because while I'm here in the now, and while I appreciate that you want to keep anything bad from happening to me, I am a relic of the past. And you are the future, all of you. So consider my answer a yes, but truly be sure this is what you want. Because while you open the door to me, you may be closing many others in doing so. And I want you to succeed, whether I'm here to see it or not. Gaia needs you to succeed. Just consider it. And I will be here for you, and I will support you. And if this is truly a path you all wish to take, I will walk it alongside you. But I will be gone one day. And hopefully it's a long time from now, but who's to say? I didn't think I'd make it this far. And when I can't walk that path with you, not in body, I hope you don't have to continue to walk it alone. I hope you do have a nation beside you. I hope you can remind the others that this is a place worth fighting for. Just consider it and talk with the others. Truly talk.
You always give a good advice, so I will.
You continue to garden as the sun dips on the horizon, just enjoying each other's company, whether it's as surrogate mother and daughter, or two Garou, or just the old, the young, the past, and the future. And with that, we transition to our final scene of the evening. We find ourselves in an elevator, which is slowly crawling its way up one of the Weaver's grandest creations, at least locally. Inside, a conversation is taking place, but the way we see it, it's a little one-sided. As a man talks on a phone. The man with his platinum blonde hair, parted very neatly to the side, dressed in a finer suit, not ruined by the ravaging claws of a lesser. Charles Albrecht talks on a cell phone. The situation is developing. I believe that there could be some problems, and I'm not completely confident. But I'm doing as you say. He listens to the response, giving a simple yes, sir, no, sir, in response to questions that are being asked. They wish to bring me in, to accept me as part of their pack. I have my trepidations, as you know. But if you believe it's the best course of action to fulfill my purpose, then I will do as you say. Yes, sir. The elevator starts to slow, the beeping of the floors slowing down. Yes, Mr. Morningkill. I will acquiesce. I have a meeting. I will call you after. And with that, he hangs up the phone and slides it into his pocket. The elevator doors open on a waiting room. There is a coffee table set out with magazines nicely displayed. There are lush couches lining either side of the elevator doors. There are big open windows with light shining through. And there is a sign, neatly lettered above a receptionist's desk, that says Tampa Property Management. And that is where our session will come to a close. Thank you so much to these incredible players. Thank you so much to everybody watching at home. Rage Across Tampa will be back next week, but then after that, we're going to be taking a bit of a early season break for about a month, but stay tuned to the schedule. We've got plenty of programming coming at you this week. Thursday, we've got Don't Get Caught. On Saturday, we have a very special After Dark. On Sunday, we have another Bloody Strings. Then we'll be back, like I said, next Tuesday with Rage Across Tampa right here. Go follow us on all of the social media down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a good evening, everyone.